Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing a credentials masterclass to help you get access to all of, the most key and popular nodes that people and myself included use in N8N. So we're going to be going through them step by step because some of them can be a little bit hairy and clunky to get working. So we're going to run through a few today. So the first one's going to be Google or Google Drive specifically, then Telegram, Discord, and then we're going to go through each of the main AI agents as well. So including OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, and then going through OpenRouter as well. So we're going to start off with Google, and I'm going to start with a fresh account so that you can basically see like step by step every single sort of thing that you need to go to. So first thing you're going to need to go to is the Google Cloud Console, the link in the description, and you're going to then have to go up to the search bar up the top, and you're just going to want to search for API or type in API. Because basically the first thing we need to do is just allow access to each of the APIs. So there is a separate one for, I guess, each platform on Google. So you may have to go back and do this multiple times. We're just going to start with Google Drive, firstly because I would say it's probably the most volatile in terms of giving you access to documents. But also I just probably use it the most. So we'll start with that one. So as you can see on that screen there that there was all of the different APIs you can access. So once you've done that, just head up and click enable like I've done there. Give it a second, it will work through. One thing to keep in mind is it may take a little bit of time to show up and be active in N8N. Once you've done that, what you want to do is just go down to the OAuth consent screen and you want to create a new client, which you can see on the right hand side there. Once you've created that, you're going to select the application type and you're going to choose web application. We're going to give it a name just to give it one. So we'll just start with demo. And then the next thing we want to do is go down to the authorized redirect URL. And what we'll do is just jump back into N8N and you just want to open up the credential section of your Google Drive node or whatever Google node you're using. Create a new credential if you don't already have one, and then just click on the OAuth redirect URI link that's in there. So just head back to Google Cloud and add that in there. So once you've done that, you will get your client ID for this specific app. One thing to keep in mind is I was doing some testing before, so it didn't come up with the secret key, but I'll run through where to grab that if it doesn't pop up for you now, but normally it would show up here. Definitely worth saving these credentials somewhere if you plan on accessing multiple Google nodes. You don't have to go and get the credentials again every single time, but you do need to authorize the API. So for now, I'm just going to copy the client ID, come back to N8N, and I'm just going to paste that in there. So now we need to get the client secret, which we can do by just going down, and just before we do that, we want to just double check to see everything else is working. So we'll start off with audience in here. Probably the main call out is that by default, it's going to be on a test user. So you're going to need to add your test user. So that's just going to be the email account of whatever Google account you want to access. And once you've done, type that up there, just hit save. But if you do want to change it from a test to a published app, you can click the publish app button at the top. Probably the thing to keep in mind with that is if you're keeping it as a test app, it will more or less like log you out every sort of 7 to 10 days, and you'll be required to go back into your N8N workflow, open up the node, and basically re-click the Google login button that I'll show you shortly. So if you want to get around that, just make sure you publish the app when you're done, but I would recommend not doing that until you're really confident that it's all working properly. So the next thing that we're going to do is grab that access key or that secret key. So we're going to not go to verification status. We're going to go to we're going to go up to clients, and then we're just going to click on demo, which is the name of our app. And then what we're going to do is, if you don't have the ability to copy the client secret that's there, you can click add secret like I'm about to do, and it will generate us a new secret key, which we can then copy and paste into our N8N credential. So one thing to keep in mind is there is a limit on the number of secrets that you can generate for a Google account. So you may need to delete old ones if you've misplaced them or can't remember them or forgot to save them, whatever it was. So now that we've done that, we should be fine just to click save. And then what we should see is that sign in with Google down the bottom. So basically we're just going to click on that now, click on the account that we want to access. it's going to just go through a few steps. So we'll click continue. We'll click select all so we get access to everything, and then just click continue. So pretty much that's our Google Now set up. So it may take a minute or so before you can start seeing the files from the file list. But that's all you need to do to get going with Google, and you can see they've already popped up for me, and I can see all of my files, which is awesome. So the next one that we're going to jump into is Telegram. So Telegram is fairly similar to Discord in some sense, but it's also a little bit tricky as well. So we need to set up a bot, and we do that by accessing Telegram ideally through your PC. It's a lot easier. Plus, we also need a PC, or again, it's a lot easier, but to access the client or the chat IDs, which we need to do a little bit later on. So as I mentioned, the first thing that you want to do is basically, if you don't have it set up already, is start a chat with BotFather. So you can do that by basically just going to the link https://t.me/botfather. I'll have this link in the description as well. Once you've added him, you can start using some of these commands to create yourself a new bot. So the first one that you want to go to do is the /new bot. You'll need to name it and then just give it like a bot ID. These need to be unique, so you won't be able to call them something that either someone else has called it or the name of one you already have. And so once you've come up with a name that nobody else has, what it will do is it'll give you a couple of things that you need. The most important being the client ID. As you can see here, I keep getting a name that's already taken, so I have to get a little bit more creative. Cool. So now that I've got a bot that's working, the first thing we want to do is just go and grab that access token. So it's going to be required to set up the credentials in N8N. So we'll come back to N8N. We'll go to the credentials and we'll create ourselves a new one. And we're just going to paste the access token in here. Give it a name so you can differentiate it between your other Telegram credentials if you do have other bots set up. And now you're essentially connected from an authentication perspective. Obviously, we still need to get and set up the chat ID. So we'll run through exactly how that works, because in order to access a chat or a message, you need to have the chat ID. So the easiest way to do that, and again, I'll have this link in the description of the video. You basically need to come to the link that I've got up here, and you just need to, where it says your bot token, copy your bot token from BotFather and just paste it into this space. So once we load that up, you'll get a result like this, where it's just a generic message because no messages have been sent. So the next thing that you're going to need to do is come back to that Telegram chat, open it up and start the bot. And then you're just going to basically send a message. So you can see that I've now started it up just by following the prompts on the screen. And I just send a basic test message saying hi. So now if I reload this, we can see that we have a bit of an information in here, and you can see there we've got a couple of different numbers, and what I've just highlighted is the message ID there. So we just want to copy that message ID, and then we want to come back to N8N, and we can pop that into the chat ID there. And now if we execute this step, we can see that the messages from our Telegram app or our Telegram message have come up. And now we can interact with this this bot, send messages, receive messages, and so forth. So obviously Telegram has a lot of really good features that you need to be able to, I guess, set up your credentials properly. And now that you can do that, you've got access to not just sending messages, but audio messages, files, and things like that too. So it's really helpful. The next one we're going to do is jump onto Discord. So this one's a little bit trickier and takes a bit more. But so first thing you want to do is just come to discord.com/developers applications. As you can see up the top there, again, I'll have the link in the description. We're just going to call this one demo, but you just need to come to applications and create a new one. So once you've confirmed that, we are not quite there yet. There's a few more steps we need to do in order to set up our bot. So first thing we want to do is come to the OAuth 2 screen, and what we want to do is basically click on this redirects URL here. So again, similar to Google, we want to come down to our credentials, and we have a link that we need to copy there. So we're going to go and just paste that in there, and then just make sure that you always save. So then what we'll do is come down from the OAuth 2 URL generator, and we basically just want to select what it is we're trying to generate a link for. So we're creating a bot, and then below that, we just want to basically set the permission. So you can choose what you want to set the permission as. I'm going to set it as administrator for the sake of this video so that it can do everything without any restrictions. It's not a massive deal, as I'm going to delete this when I'm done anyway. And so essentially what that's going to do is give us a link that we then want to go to down the bottom there, and you just copy and paste that into your browser. And what that's going to do is add this bot to our server. So you want to select a server. If you don't already have one, maybe make one up, or you can select a server that you already have. So once you've selected the server and you click OK, what you should now see is that your bot is in your server. As you can see, I've got the demo bot in my server now. So what we can do now is go back to the Discord developer site, and basically there's a few things that we need to copy. So we want to copy the client ID and the client secret there. And we'll copy those, go back to N8N and just pop them in there. So we can pop the client ID in there, and then we'll grab the client secret as well. So it may potentially ask you to authenticate, and if it's going to ask you to do that, then you'll just need to grab your authentication app and work through that process. So I'm just going to skip through that. Cool. So now that that's done, we can go on and grab our client secret. So we can copy that, and then we can just quickly paste it in here. And then bot tokens, the last one, we just need to go back to the developer site. We go over to where it says bot on the left-hand side, and then it asks you to reset your token, and then you just copy that one and paste that in N8N. So if you haven't recently done a two-factor authentication, it may ask you to do that again there. But because I just did one, I wasn't outside of the time limit that it has. So next, we just need to work through each of the steps here. Click connect my account. You can tick all the authorities or permissions you want to give it, then just scroll down and click authorize. And from here, a couple of things, you can try and select your server and your channel from the list here. It doesn't always work. If that's the case, what you can do is switch it to find by ID or to search by ID. And what you can do is go back to Discord, and essentially what Discord has, and you can see there's sort of two sets of numbers. So this first one here, so that's your that's essentially your server ID, and then the second set of numbers there, that's going to be your channel ID. So a really easy way, and why I recommend setting it up on PC as well. Once you've done that, you can just put a test message in there to try it, and we can try executing. And what we can see now is that we've had our message sent, which is awesome. Cool. So now that we're connected to Discord, the next thing that we're going to do is work through all of our AI agents. Awesome. So now we're going to go through each of the different AI platforms that we have available to us. So we've got OpenAI, so ChatGPT, Anthropic, which is Claude, Google Gemini, and then we've got OpenRouter as well. So we'll just deactivate these for the moment, and we'll start off with OpenAI. So first thing you want to do is come to the OpenAI, platform. So platform.openai.com/API-keys. And we're just going to create a new one. So you can see I've got a test one from here before, which I'll just really quickly delete. And then we're just going to create a new one. So we'll just call this one test, and we'll just leave everything else as is. And then what we'll see is it will just give us this here. So we'll copy this API key, come back to N8N, open up our node for OpenAI. We're going to actually create a new credential API key. We're just going to paste that in here, and that's all we need to do. So now we whack save, and we can see credentials are saved, and it will just do a really quick test to basically just make sure everything's all connected, which it seems to be taking a little bit of time at the moment, which it normally doesn't do. So it may have been because we just needed to click done, but what I might do is just quickly reset this. Although it looked like it just worked as I deleted it in classic fashion. Yes, you can see it. So we'll just try pasting that again. We'll click save, and we can see that it's worked that time, which is awesome. And so we'll do a really quick test just to make sure that it's working. And we can see it's working, interacting, and we've got our output. So we'll delete this one, or disconnect that one, deactivate it, activate this one, connect it up, and we'll jump over to platform.claude.com/settings/keys. So fairly similar. We'll just click create key. We'll name it. We'll just call it demo. And then we need to select our workspace. So we'll just select default. The Claude Code one won't work if you don't have a Claude Code account. So we'll copy that one. We'll come back to N8N and we'll create ourselves a new credential. So again, you're just going to paste the API key in there, name it if you want to differentiate it if you have others, and click save. Cool, so we can see that's now worked. So we'll give that another try. From here as well, like with the OpenAI, we can select the models that we want to use too. So we'll do another really quick test in here. And again, we can see it's working through now, and we've got our output here, which is awesome. So we'll disconnect that one again, hook up the next one, activate it, and then we'll come over to aistudio.google.com/API-keys. So again, all these links, I will have them in the description or in a supporting document as well. So you can see I've got a few test ones here, which I will probably just delete those for now because I don't actually need them. And then we'll create a new one for this video. So we'll just hit create API key. Again, we'll name it. We'll just call it test again. And then again, we just want to select the project that we want to associate that with. So the good thing about Google is it will let you copy the API key. You don't have to go and essentially recreate one if you forget it or you misplace it. So just like the other ones, we'll create a new credential, and then all we're doing is pasting in the API key here and then renaming it if we want to. So we'll hit save on that one, and we can see that's all good and working now, and we'll try another test. Awesome, and we can see that worked. And then the next one and final one we're going to do is OpenRouter. So for those of you who aren't familiar, OpenRouter is essentially like a one-stop shop, kind of like a marketplace where you can come and get access to many different types of LLMs. It's really cool in the sense that it does also allow you to access free ones as well, keeping in mind though that they're not particularly great and usually have a much smaller knowledge base, meaning that you may get lower quality answers or performance out of them as well. So good for testing, but probably not good for production. So for this one, we're just going to head over to openrouter.ai/settings/keys. If you don't have an account, you'll need to create one. And then, we'll come over to API keys, hit create API key. We're going to give it a name and we'll just call it test as normal. You can set a credit limit if you want, and then you can have it to reset over a period of months. So for example, if I was to do 1 credit, and then you could do daily, weekly, monthly, but I'm not going to put a limit on this one. And so now all we need to do is just copy this one, come back to N8N, and exactly the same as all of the others, we're just going to create a new credential, paste this in, and then again, if we want to rename it, we can rename it. We can click save. And what we can do now is select the model that we want to use. So as you can see here, it's got hundreds or maybe hundreds, but it's got a lot of different models here, including DeepSeek. As I mentioned, there's some free ones as well. It's got Google, Gemini, it's got Claude, it's got Llama, it's got Minstrel, it's got OpenAI. So just for the sake of this, it usually defaults to 4.1 mini, and we'll give this one a crack. Awesome, so we can see that one's worked as well. So we now have successfully set up our credentials for Google, Telegram, Discord, OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, and OpenRouter as well. So hopefully you found this video really helpful and informative. Definitely looking at releasing some more of these credential masterclasses in the future. So if there's any potential credentials that you're having trouble setting up, please feel free to let me know in the comments, and hopefully we can get another video in relation to this out pretty shortly. If you do have any other questions, you can feel free to leave a comment or reach out to me via any of the socials, which will be in the description, or email us as well. Again, that'll be in the description. In the meantime, yeah, hopefully we'll have some more content coming out pretty shortly. Thanks again.